Hey, this is Bill Chris back in the Coach's Cave, and today I just want to talk about something I've been seeing in the ball games. As an offensive line coach, it gets me a little shaky. There's been a lot of pulling guards in play action pass schemes. It's nothing new. It's been around before. You don't see a lot on it, but all of a sudden the bowl season, I don't know if I was busy this fall, but boy, Ohio State, Tennessee. I saw Penn State do it in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State's been doing it for a while. Is pulling guards and play action passes, and it's not new, even though it seems to have become prominent again. It'll be, I'm pretty sure, after the bowl games, is probably going to be the flavor of the month this winter on a lot of staffs, and that's great. I mean, I think it's a deadly scheme, deadly concept, uh, but it's not new. I was pulling on pass protections for George Baldwin in college in 1983, the short time I was there. So, it's been going on for a while. And actually, this summer, it was discussed on our staff as a concept. We run a wing T, single wing, gap trap offensive scheme. So it seemed to fit naturally into what we did. And we have been running as a key breaker outside zone. Stop pulling our guards because we run outside zone stretch plays, and our pass protections were full slide protections. So it did seem like a good idea that we looked at, and ultimately this is my thoughts on it, and ultimately why, as a high school coach, um, we didn't do it. So what is it? First of all, it's a full slide 6-man protection. It can be a 7-man protection, and at a base it's off of power. Nowadays in college it's off of power read concept, where you're going to try to get it. It's a deep field. Penn State in the bowl game did run a push. Uh, they ran it to the back, but generally what it is, it's a 6-man protection, includes a back and tight end. It can be a 7-man protection. You want to include a tight end in it. I guess you could do that 2-back, but the general concept is we're going to get a double team, power double team to one side. We're going to act like we're reading the end, okay? We're going to pull a guard, of course. That's what the whole thing's about. Okay, we get a mesh, and this back is actually in the pass protection. The center's backside, tackle's backside, kick slide. You get a kick out here, and it's usually, like Ohio State does with deep crossers, but I see this out of 4 verts. It's a deep shot offense, okay? Offensive scheme. So here's my thoughts going into it with our offense and why ultimately I stayed away from it. Questions you got to ask yourself, okay, when you do this is what kind of scheme you run, what's realistic, what's your personnel, and what are you going to be facing. So in my personal scenario, to start with, we'll get into why a little bit, but this isn't a normal. It's a little bit more difficult than a run gap trap. So just because you run gap trap doesn't necessarily mean you should be pass block trapping. And when you see guys doing stuff on Saturdays, as a high school and lower coach myself, when I see guys doing things on a Saturday and Sunday, I keep in mind, conversations that happen in college football fields, that's why you're here. That's why we recruited you. When they ask players to do things, when they ask the center to reach a 3 technique, 2 gaps down, that's why you're here. There are a lot of guys not there, and they're not there because they can't do those things. Right? So when a guy comes in and says he saw Penn State or somebody, his favorite team, doing something on Saturday, Sunday, it was really cool, we ought to look at it. That's the first thing that goes in my mind. What kind of guy was doing it? Okay? These are guys that play spring football. They practice year round. They're Division I athletes for a reason. They're college football players for a reason, because they were the 5% that could do things that the other 95% couldn't. So normally, most of us have a 95% chance of having kids that can't do what they're seeing on TV. Realistically. I'm not being mean, but I don't like to tell people they can't do something. I don't like to be told I can't do something, but you got to be realistic and assess your time. So this is one of those things where, it's a more difficult task than normal, even if you're a run trap team. This takes some athleticism, it takes some smarts, it takes some reps. You're also in high school, let's be honest, this guy usually doesn't like the pass block, right? How much time is he going to spend pass blocking? How anxious is he to run into a linebacker blitzing? So you might have everything you need, but it's a 6-man pass protection, sometimes a 7. So sometimes you might not have the personnel doing the type of thing or having the time to do this. So this is the questions you're going to face, that I face. Okay, I got to ask the center to reach 2 gaps to get to a 3 technique, and he just can't cut him. He just can't block. He just can't kick him out like a run game. He has to square up pace and then give pass protection to the back side, maintaining that fit after reaching. You might see on Saturdays, not even Division One, this guy's asked to reach a 3 technique and turn him back in and block a trailing. You pull this guard, and the defensive tackle trails. He reaches the far side 3 gap, turns him back inside. You see that on Saturday. That looks cool. Not many high school guys can do that. Okay, so it's the same thing. You're asking him to get across and pass block the 3 technique. You're asking this guard now to pull, and he's got to react to how this ends. Now you can prepare on film, but you don't know how many times you run it, how many times you've seen it, how many times they change up. So this guy's going to either read, because we're running a power read action. Okay, he's going to stay flat and shuffle. He could be upfield boxing. He could decide to peel in and spill. He has to see that. He can't slow down and think about it. And he has to react and execute the proper block on time. So if, in short, okay, if this kid's spilling, he's going to log him. This back's going to read the mesh, and then he will take position. It's a 6-man protection outside the log. And he's going to take the blitzer. Okay. If it's a box technique or dent technique, we're going to kick him out, and the back's going to fit up inside the guard's block. So there's got to be some coordination here. Are you practicing 5 days a week? If you have a good off-season program, you might be able to drill that. You have a kid that's willing to do it. The other problem you're going to have, and we had personally this year, we're a run-heavy team. Okay, we, to invest time in our base passing, which is generally less than 50% completion rate, and then ask our kids to throw the ball downfield. As an offensive lineman, I coach, it didn't seem like it was time I wanted to invest realistically, because this was not going to carry the day for us, right? And so people are concerned about our run game and not so much our pass game. So we see a lot of A-gap blitzes. And we're pulling guys down and we're showing run anyway. So when you got this guy reaching to a 3 technique, and if this double team can't just be a normal double team, it has to be a double team with power to squeeze this hole, because what you get is you get a vacated A-gap. You get the center here. That's a lot of space if that's not blocked right. So if you see a lot of A-gap blitzes on your team, you might want to think twice about this. Now, the guard can pick him up going across, but that's now you're shuffling this way, okay? You don't have a good fit, and now this ends clean or one-on-one. And I know dang sure I've had enough conversations where schemes are avoided in high school because they don't want to put it back against the defensive end, right? So you might end up with that if you see a lot of A-gap blitzes. So there's some things to consider, and it's different than a run trap. It can get worse. There's guys that only pull against certain defenses when they read after the snap. There's protections where, he reads a strong safety blitz and the center pulls out on the strong safety. That's probably the hardest that I know of assignment for offensive linemen and pass protection, but we try to stay away from that. It's really not necessary. Now, you can negate some of these problems by, sliding to the 1 technique. Remember, it's off power read. Sliding this way, pulling. So now your center doesn't go 2 gaps. Okay, you got a more squeezed A-gap. Still kicking backside, cross, and he's fitting either up or out. going towards this back this way. Now you might not get this back set where you want them, but this is a good scenario. This is actually probably pretty realistic, this back overhanging away from the running back. So, just like anything else, you know, in the void of the whiteboard, everybody's Division I. Everybody can do what you can ask. I could draw a line. You know, I could have this guy come across and block. Oh, he's blocked. You know, but realistically, you have a tackle that can duck under a defensive lineman and race across two linebackers and get across them. Just because you can do it with a marker doesn't mean guys can do it on their feet. You know, and that's, you know, with clinic season going in, I'm real careful about when I listen to great coaches and stuff, what they're asking their kids to do, what schemes are running, because, you know, especially college Division I guys, you know, a Division I offensive line coach, he's dealing with a guy that's 6'6", 315, that's played a lot of football, that probably is faster than my running backs, right? So the stuff he's asking his offensive lineman to do, I don't know if I can ask my 5'10", 220 to do, right? So you got to keep that in mind, okay? Just because you see it on TV doesn't mean you can do it on Friday nights. You might be able to, you might not, but it's something you got to weigh in your mind when you're considering it. Those guys are playing on TV for a reason. It's because they could do things that the other 95% couldn't. So, things to keep in mind. Flavor of the month might be pulling guards in your pass protection scheme. It can be done. If you can do it, it's absolutely deadly. It's a great key breaker. As a linebacker, there's a defensive guy. I mean, it's a thing of deep concern if a team can do that. Of course, if they can do that, I'm facing a pretty loaded team, I think, you know. So, but it's another tool in your toolbox. So, if you can do it, you pull it off, you'll probably beat somebody you weren't supposed to. So, thanks for watching. Enjoy the bull season.